Somebody once famously said that if you don't believe in God, you'll believe in anything. Another person once famously talked about Satan and one of his biggest deceptions in getting us to believe he doesn't exist. TJump is an atheist who unfortunately has fallen prey to that belief. He became an atheist when he was a young child, apparently. Apparently, he had a hard time, and to reconcile this difficulty that he had in his youth, he decided to himself that God does not exist. And he's devoted much of his life since then to talking about God's non-existence. He goes on Modern Day Debate quite frequently to discuss God's non-existence. And here in this particular debate, up against a Christian, actually apparently a blind Christian named Justus Walker, he discusses his non-belief in God and demons. And the way he does it, I think, was kind of epic. And because it was so incredibly fallacious in so many ways. And so let's go ahead and listen to the opening statements by these two people. Now, we're going to start with Justus, and these opening statements are only a couple minutes long. So let's go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, TJump. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to see the debate tonight. Thanks to Modern Day Debate in general for the platform, and to James specifically for creating it for us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, do demons exist, or evidence for the existence of the demonic. First of all, I'd like to say the reasons why I would like to have this debate. The number one reason is that I would like there to be a record on the internet, sort of, for people who might otherwise miss the notice that there are such a thing as demonic entities, and that can influence your life, and that there is a way to get help if you're in such circumstance where demonic influence is involving in interacting with your life. So for me, it's an evangelical sort of outreach opportunity to tell people about it. So why would I be the one to tell people about it? My name is Justus Walker, and I've been a missionary in Russia for over 20 years. I was originally born and raised in the United States, but have been overseas in this particular mission field for quite a long time. And inadvertently, completely without my desiring it, I fell into a ministry of helping people become relieved from demonic influences that they're having in their lives. People who would come to our church, and people who weren't even members of our church, would often years ago begin to come to us for help with unexplained phenomena in their homes that we could then help with. And over the course of the last 20 years, I've been privy to some 20-some exorcisms, and I have seen both the horror and the terror of demonic influence on people's lives, and the peace and release and relief that people can gain when those demonic influences are expelled. Before I get into my evidence, I'd like to really quick, because last time this debate that I did this, there was a lot of people in the chats that said, oh, he makes his living, charges people. In fact, we never advertise any kind of exorcism kind of like service. People who have an issue are looking for answers, and they come to the church for that. So that's the first thing. And second, I never, neither for my pastoral services, or if I do what I call cleaning, never take any money for that. That's definitely a pro deo kind of a service that we do to help people out. So the motive is always simply to give people release and relief from the oppression and the terror that they are involved in. So the the evidence for the demonic. First, we're going to go to historic evidence. Second, we're going to go to what I would consider objective evidence, or other testimony. And the third will be my own personal experiences, anecdotal. So historic evidence is that belief in the demonic historically is the most widespread belief among all cultures and all societies throughout all time. There is less belief in a higher deity throughout all nations and cultures and times than there is in the demonic. The demonic has had more belief by all cultures and all times than even a higher deity.
That's actually a very good point. And just to highlight what he's saying, let's consider the fact that humans have been on this earth for thousands and thousands of years. And we have evidence that there is an existence that goes just beyond the physical. Everything is not explained by the physical. You can't explain your desire for morality, your desire to do what's right, justice, fairness, the truth. You can't explain that purely by the physical. There is a metaphysical component in our life. There is a conscience that we have that tells us what's right and wrong. And we've all been hardwired with this conscience, as we found in Romans 2:15. So we've all been given a conscience to know what's right and wrong. Now, yes, some people can sear their consciences. But it's only been the past couple hundred years when we've had people who've decided that there's no existence of God and that everything can be explained in a materialistic way. And that's absurd. That is truly absurd. And it's a shame that people actually think that, because there is an outcome that comes from that. If you want to see what the outcome is, you can go back to some very holy books, but there's an outcome. You have three options when you die: heaven, hell, or purgatory. Purgatory is an existence that's conditioning you for heaven. It's where you're purging through fire your sins. And so the existence of hell is open to the non-believers. And I just finished a really fascinating book written by the prophet Ezra, first and second Esdras, and I'm going to be reviewing that soon. But he goes into great depth on what hell is like and why non-believers end up there. And it was even revealed at Fatima in July 13th, 1917, to the three seers. They saw what hell looked like. Mother Mary showed them, and they said it was full of people who had non-belief. And unfortunately, this is where Tom is going to end up unless he opens up his eyes and accepts the truth. And the truth is Jesus. So let's go. And I think this argument with historic is really good, because if you go back again, thousands and thousands of years through history, through different cultures, different existences, people who'd never interacted with one another, all shared a common belief in the demonic.
Deity. So again, this is, of course, TJump will jump on it and say, pun intended, we'll jump on it and say that this is an argument from history or from popularity, and that is to some extent true, but you have to take in consideration that if this is a universally held belief by all peoples in all times, it may need something more than just hand waving to dismiss it. The second set of evidence is that in modern times, we do have evidence of exorcisms and the demonic. Two things that I'd like to note is there's a very good exorcist. His name is Father Martin Carlos, who has been doing exorcisms for over 20 years, is documented a large variety of his experiences. And I would refer anyone to his podcast to get both an entertaining and informative introduction into that world.
I'll highlight that. His actually is Carlos Martins. He is a very famous exorcist. Also, if you want to go ahead and look at Father Chad Ripperger, or you can go in to look at Dan Rehill. In fact, Dan Rehill had a really fascinating conversation with Michael Knowles on the Daily Wire, where he discussed the fact that he saw a little old lady literally walking up a wall. Now, the exorcists go to great lengths to make sure that there's no physical explanation for what they're encountering. They say that it's very few people are actually possessed. A very small number of people who come to them are actually possessed. But there are certain signs of possession. They include things like that Satan can bend light and make people look differently, make them appear as snakes, make their eyes appear green, all green or all black or anything like that. They can do all kinds of things to bend light. The other thing they can do oftentimes is to speak in a language with which they have zero familiarity, oftentimes an ancient language that is not even present today. They can suddenly come out and speak fluently in this ancient language. And then they have superhuman strength in many cases. They can levitate. They can do things that are highly unusual. And a lot of times they do it because they're trying to show off. They're trying to show their presence. And many times it's not just one demon possessing a person. Many times it's many. You remember Jesus in the Bible talking about, we are legion, we are many. Okay, so the they-them debate goes to new levels. Maybe there is presence of multiples. Here we go.
Also, there is a professor of psychology, and his book is Demonic Foes, where he looks at the instances of demonic oppression and demonic possession of people, particularly through the lens of psychology. So defining where there are actual psychological issues and where there actually are something that's not explained by psychology, and that is definitely more than that.
Now, for Tom to just let out a yawn like this, I know if you're listening to this and you don't see it, Tom's mouth right now I mean, I just freeze this in place to show the level of courtesy in a debate. This is not how you debate somebody, is by letting out this gargantuan yawn in the middle of the debate. I mean, come on, Tom.
And we can get into some more of these types of people as the debate goes on. The third set of evidence is my own personal experiences, where, as I said, I kind of fell into helping what I call clean apartments or clean houses from demonic influences. And this happened because I ended up, when I was a young missionary, living in an apartment in a city that had what we would call a house spirit or a house demon. And having suffered some affliction from that, we figured out how to expel the demon, and that was where my career started. And
people can open demon portals, and it's very unfortunate, but a lot of people play Ouija boards, they play and engage with tarot cards, Reiki. They do a lot of things like that actually open demon portals. You could buy statues that come from other parts of the world that had been cursed, and those statues, those figurines, could be possessing a demon. And so you could do a lot of things to open demon portals. And so if somebody says that there's a demonic presence in a house, it's usually because they've experienced perhaps an extreme form of cold or an extreme form of pure evil. Demons are purely evil. Remember, who are demons? Who are these spiritual entities? Well, the movie Nefarious is pretty good at looking at the mindset of a demonic. But if you want to know who they are, God created angels way back when, before we were in existence. And about a third of the angels ended up rebelling against God. And Jesus said he saw Satan with them fall from heaven. So about a third of them fell from heaven. Now, at that time, when you're created by God, you're full of light. And at that time, when Satan was created, he was called Lucifer, which meant light bearer, full of light. But God kicked him out, and he is in the earth. Actually, a lot of saints believe that the demonic is in the center of the earth. It's a burning fire, and there are chambers and levels in hell that's in the center of the earth. And one of the things about the demons is, with time, they lost their light. And now they're at the point of perpetual darkness and perpetual evil. And the reason why I will stand out and talk against demons is because I also had a spiritual experience with a dark demon that tried to suffocate me. If I had not had that experience and felt the pure evil and saw the pure black, the pure darkness, and felt cold, chill, an extreme chill, then I maybe wouldn't be standing up against them as much. But due to that experience that I had around 2012, it was a long time ago, that's one of the reasons why I came back to the Christian church, because it opened my eyes to a spiritual battle that's going on in the world. And it cleaned me up quite a bit, because it actually oriented me in a correct way towards God. So here we go.
Ever since then, I've, like I said, had about 20 different experiences with expelling demons from dwellings, and why demons would like to, indwell houses or bodies. We can get into that in the back and forth. But in short, that is my water cooler presentation. I don't know where I am on my time because I'm blind and can't see the clock, but
you still have,
but that is more or less
over 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. So I'll just cede the rest of my time there and kick it over to TJump.
So I think he did a pretty good opening speech. And I also want to comment on the fact that he was a missionary in Russia. That is an amazing, selfless bit of work. I can't imagine going over to a different part of the world and serving as a missionary for as long as he has done, apparently. And I think that's really, really nice. The thing is, Russia certainly needs our prayers, it needs the missions, needs all of the help from God that Russia can get. You remember, if you go back to the Fatima experience in 1917, Mother Mary said if Russia was not consecrated to her Immaculate Heart in a proper way, things like fasting, first Saturdays, confessing, all that kind of stuff. If that didn't occur, that Russia would spread its airs. And now you also remember what happened in 1917. We had the fall of the Tsar, the rise of communism. 1920, you have the freedom for women to abort their babies, to kill their babies. So abortion was legalized in Russia. And Russia's communism spread all throughout the world. It's infected many parts of the world. And it's a belief that also goes hand in hand with atheism. So the people who were leading Russia, Stalin, Lenin, the people leading China, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot over there in Cambodia, these people were atheists, and they were routinely killing and slaughtering Christians. And they did it because they didn't believe in the Christian system. And of course, that is the source of all of communism is demonic. And so you can see where the communists come together. And for him to go over into that part of the world where people, as far as Hugh Ross has said, have been practicing the occult and opening up these portals to the demonic, that's pretty brave. And I have to give him a lot of credit. You don't hear as many Protestants. It sounds like he's a Protestant. You don't hear as many Protestant pastors talking about their own exorcisms. A lot of times there's legalistic reasons that the demons are best exorcised through the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is the original church of St. Peter, founded on the rock of St. Peter. On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. So you don't see as many coming out of the other faiths. But if they do come out of the other faiths, they're probably very spiritual, very holy, very pure people, because the demons wouldn't listen to them otherwise. In fact, if you're a Catholic, they always go to confession just before they exorcise the demonic, so the demonic have nothing against them. If you're a Protestant and you're not going to confession and following the calls of the Bible that says that we should confess our sins to one another, if you're not doing that, then you might succumb to attacks by the demonic if you try to go and exorcise them. So it's very brave that he's doing that, and he must be pretty holy and that he's able to do that. So let's listen to what Tom's stellar arguments are going to be.
And then we can get into the question, the back and forth.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Justus, for your opening. I just want to remind everybody hanging out in the live chat that we are a friendly, neutral space here at Modern Day Debate. We host debates on science, politics, religion, and we hope that you all feel welcome hanging out in the live chat or just listening in on our podcast forum, which all of these will be uploaded to our podcast.
This guy's so funny. He sounds like a Minnie James. I mean, I can't believe he speaks exactly as James would speak. He almost has the same tone and voice inflections as James. Very interesting. James is the, of course, host and founder of Modern Day Debate. And I've been on the Modern Day Debate, but I haven't been on there in a long time because I don't know, I just haven't. So here we go.
Within 24 hours of us having them, along with our guests linked in the description of our podcast and our YouTube video. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, TJump. You have 10 minutes on the floor. And starting now.
There is no evidence of demons existing.
Okay, so this is his stellar argument. There's no evidence of demons existing all over the world. Just by saying that there's no evidence, it means there's no evidence, because TJump is apparently a person with all full knowledge of what's going on in the world, and he has decided there is no God, and so accordingly, there's no spiritual world, there's no demons, there's no evidence. It doesn't sound like he's done any homework. He hasn't checked into people who make contrary claims. He hasn't looked into the multiple religions of the world that do believe that there's evidence of a demonic force. In fact, every world religion understands that there's a need, or there is a demonic force. Now, there isn't dualism, though. The demons don't have equal power to God. The belief in dualism comes out of some Eastern beliefs. But the way that the Christians believe is that the demonic is a corruption of the good. It's an attempt to corrupt the good. So here we go.
The evidence is to the contrary. The reason the scientific method exists is in order to differentiate imagination from reality. And
now, the scientific method is speaking of how you can understand the physical world. So saying that he needs to use the scientific method to determine whether or not the spiritual world exists is it's a false category. It's a category error. So he is trying to use a method. It's like trying to test a math equation by using verbal skills. Okay, so it just doesn't work.
The fact that demons have never been able to make any novel predictions indicates that they.
Of course, demons haven't been able to make predictions. Demons don't have knowledge of the future, Tom. Tom, if you looked into who demons are, what they are, they're corrupted beings, they're angels. The only one who has knowledge for the future is God. That's the only one. So to say that they need to be able to make predictions is faulty. Now, can they try to make active guesses based on what they think humans will do, based on thousands of years of knowledge of human activity? Sure, they can make educated guesses. They can try, but they don't have pure knowledge of the future, thankfully.
They are imaginary, not real, just like magic crystal woo, leprechauns, fairies, unicorns.
The thing is, now what he's doing is he's trying to equate demons with leprechauns, fairies, magic crystals, and other things that we don't believe in. Okay, so by saying, it's like saying, okay, I don't believe in the tooth fairy, therefore I don't believe that you have I don't believe that demons exist because I don't believe in the tooth fairy. Now, at least find something that we believe in to equate to the level of the demon.
Energies, karma, Reiki, chiropractic.
The interesting thing about Reiki is one way that people actually draw on the demonic to cure themselves. They draw from the demonic. They try to get power from the demonic. It's an occult practice. It's very dangerous. And it is something that he can talk about. Now that Reiki is something that you could talk about hand in hand with demonic because it is drawing on the demonic.
All fake, all no evidence to indicate them. And the way we can do this is because they don't make novel predictions. We need to make novel predictions about the future and confirm them in novel, testable, confirm.
So that's really kind of the sum of Tom's argument, that because he says demons can't make novel predictions, therefore they're not true. Can Tom make novel predictions about the future? No, maybe Tom's not true. Maybe Tom is just a figment of our imagination because Tom hasn't been able to make predictions about the future. If that's the metric you're using a faulty metric. Demons can't make predictions about the future, just as Tom can't make predictions about the future. So using that argument is faulty. And I want to say hi to people who are in the chat. I see Top G, Nathan Robinson, Utopia Buster, and Captive Desk. I think that's wonderful to see you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is my quick and speedy review of this debate. I'm not going to talk any more about it. I just wanted to tell you that I think the arguments that were presented by Justus were pretty solid. I think the ones that were presented by Tom were not. They were lacking. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have a quick commentary. So have a great day. Whether you eat, drink, or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Thank you.